Let's set the scene. Once upon a time, nestled in a misty valley, there lived a young man named Leo. He lived with his elderly parents in a wooden cabin right next to a flour mill. Now, Leo was a bit of a local legend, but not for heroic deeds. He was famous for his inactivity. His daily chore was straightforward. He had to transport heavy sacks of grain from the barn down to the mill. Most workers would throw those sacks on their backs and trudge along, sweating under the hot sun. But Leo? He refused to exert himself like that. Instead, he got creative. He constructed a smooth wooden slide and a clever pulley system. This invention allowed him to send the sacks sliding down to the mill with just a simple tug of a rope. He could literally sit in the shade and watch the grain move itself. His father often worried about this habit, thinking to himself, "If I am not around to supervise, Leo will simply sleep all day." However, the work always got done, and often faster than the others, so his father kept his thoughts to himself and remained silent. But then, things took a turn. One harsh winter, a brutal blizzard struck the valley, and Leo's father fell seriously ill with a fever that just wouldn't break. Suddenly, Leo had to manage the entire milling business all by himself. He tried his best, but the heavy snow had crushed his wooden slides, and he wasn't accustomed to the brutal physical effort of hauling sacks through deep snowdrifts. After a few weeks, the business began to fail because they couldn't produce enough flour, and their savings quickly vanished. That night, Leo sat by the cold fireplace, feeling absolutely worthless and ashamed. He asked himself a hard question. Why did I rely only on my tricks? Now my family is suffering because I lack the strength to do the hard work. The very next morning, a royal messenger arrived in the valley with big news. He announced a grand tournament hosted by the Duke. The prize for the champion? A lifetime supply of silver coins. Leo immediately realized, this prize is the only way to buy the medicine my father needs. Without a second thought, Leo signed his name for the contest. Naturally, the neighbors had a field day with this. They scoffed and whispered, "Are you kidding? How can Leo, the boy who naps under trees, possibly compete against the kingdom's mightiest warriors?" But Leo ignored the gossip. He had 2 days to hike to the castle, so he packed his bag. His parents were skeptical that he could win, but they hoped the journey would at least teach him some discipline. 2 days later, the tournament began. The competitors stood before a raging, wide river. Many of the participants were giant men with massive muscles, which, understandably, made Leo feel small and weak. "I cannot outpower them," he worried. Then, the judge explained the first round. They had to transport a fragile glass vase across the river without breaking it or letting it sink. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1, go! The strong men immediately grabbed the vases and tried to swim with one arm, struggling violently against the current. Leo, however, stood back. He thought, this isn't a test of swimming, it is a test of delivery. Leo spotted a hollow log nearby. He placed his vase inside, sealed the ends with mud and leaves to make it watertight, and simply pushed it into the water, swimming freely beside it. While the strong men exhausted themselves fighting the water, Leo just floated his cargo across. He arrived third, qualifying for the final round along with 2 incredibly exhausted giants. The next day, the final challenge was revealed. Each finalist stood before a massive, square block of solid stone. The goal? Move this stone block 1 mile to the city gates. Behind them lay a pile of equipment they could use: But there was a catch. They were allowed only one tool. The first competitor grabbed a thick chain to drag the stone. The second competitor chose a long iron bar to pry and flip the stone over, inch by painful inch. Leo, however, did not panic. He stopped to analyze the physics of the problem. "My muscles are weak," he whispered, "so my mind must be strong." After a moment of silence, Leo chose a heavy hammer and a chisel. The audience was baffled. How could a chisel move a ton of rock? But instead of pushing, Leo began to strike the stone. He chipped away the sharp corners of the square block. After an hour of intense focus, he had transformed the square into a rough cylinder. Now, instead of a stationary anchor that refused to budge, he had a stone wheel. Leo pushed the cylinder gently. It gained momentum and rolled down the path, easily overtaking the strong men who were collapsing from exhaustion. With energy to spare, Leo was the first to cross the threshold. The spectators erupted in applause. Nobody predicted that the lazy miller would outsmart the warriors. This story teaches us a valuable lesson. Inactivity can be a weakness, but the desire to find an easier way is often the mother of invention. However, to unlock that potential, you need a powerful why, just like Leo's burning desire to save his father. So, if you ever feel unmotivated, anchor yourself to a purpose that truly matters. Whether it is supporting your loved ones or achieving a personal dream, that purpose will turn your laziness into efficiency. Today, we not only enjoyed a story of triumph, but also practiced listening and understood the context of new words in a real narrative. Remember, mastering English is a journey that becomes easier with consistent practice. So keep listening, keep learning, and keep improving. Don't forget to subscribe for more lessons like this one. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.